Are we overlooking this Michigan State football team? Of course, the Spartans beating Iowa last year up in East Lansing and beating Iowa handily looked like a mismatch problem for Iowa's defense, especially those DBs. I'll tell you why I don't think we are. I don't think we're overlooking this team. Yes, I was confident Iowa would win a year ago, but my confidence is much higher this year. Let's just stay there. We'll keep it at that for now. I'll explain in just a second. But first, a big thank you to our sponsor, Iowa Floor Covering, Tile, Carpet, and more. Give IFC a call. Tyler will help you out with whatever needs you have. 515-207-0228. 515-207-0228. You can also visit Iowa Floor Covering online at iowafloorcovering.com. They are located in Bondurant. So Iowa, Michigan State, if you missed my preview earlier today, I'll throw it up here in the corner. This is a Michigan State team that's winless in the Big Ten. They're 0-7, and it might be easy to reflect back on Iowa's double-digit loss to Michigan State a year ago and think, how are we discounting this Spartans team from potentially coming in and upsetting Iowa? There are a couple of differences. First of all, that game was being played in East Lansing, of course. It was a game in which Aiden Childs, who's a very athletic, mobile quarterback, was healthy. He's not healthy for this game. And was also early enough in the year that Michigan State's hope for the year was not totally gone. I mean, that was a Michigan State team that was still competing for potential bowl eligibility. Now, they finished one win short of bowl eligibility. But this is a Michigan State team now with 7 losses. They're not going to play in a bowl game. It does not sound like Aiden Childs is going to play on Saturday. Now, if somehow Jonathan Smith pulls a rabbit out of his hat and trots Childs out there as a starting quarterback, I'll be sitting there in Kinnick Stadium, because I will be there in person, intrigued and potentially entertained. I think that's going to be an interesting storyline because, boy, they struggled to contain him, not just his legs, but his arm as well. And Michigan State has proven this year that they can score points when they're healthy. They scored points at Southern Cal. They competed decently well with Michigan, scored points at Lincoln. They haven't played horribly away from East Lansing. I just think they're too beat up, specifically at quarterback, to compete with an Iowa team that I don't think shows any sign of kind of playing lost or playing like they have nothing to play for. I mean, you could argue maybe they would have looked that way last week, and I know they blew that game at Southern Cal, but boy, that first half was impressive. Iowa raced out to a 21-0 lead on the Trojans, and I just don't think this program with Kirk Ferentz at the helm, say what you want about KF, they just don't operate with, the playoff and these different things. Certainly those are goals, but I don't think the play-to-play, game-by-game approach is with those things in mind. So I don't anticipate Iowa goes out there and looks like they're not playing for anything, like they've lost their season goals. There are things that just simply aren't in front of them anymore. But they're going to a bowl game, something Michigan State cannot say. And as I mentioned earlier today on my preview, I just think there's too many mismatches here. And certainly the Kinnick crowd. It's sold out. Now, the ticket prices, if you want to buy secondhand tickets for Saturday, they have gone way down. If you've missed Iowa football in person, you haven't gotten out to see them in Kinnick, consider going tomorrow. I've looked at some prices here in the last 24 hours, and they have gone considerably down. So perhaps go to a secondhand website and buy some tickets. But nevertheless, Iowa, Michigan State, Vegas has this game. Iowa favored by 16.5, and the total here is 42.5. So do the math, somewhere in the range of they're predicting Iowa 30, Michigan State 13. I'll tell you at first glance, I'm like, first of all, not a betting guy, right? But at first glance, I'm thinking that's a big number for Iowa to cover. Just the way Iowa plays. And then I'm like, well, they did score a bunch of points against Minnesota. They blew out Wisconsin by like 37. Michigan State's worse than both of those teams. Those games were at home. Not saying Iowa's necessarily going to shut out this Spartan team. I don't think that will happen. Michigan State hasn't been shut out all year. I don't think that will happen. But I do think there's a chance that Iowa covers this number. In fact, I eventually convinced myself that Iowa's going to cover the number. So I'll give you that little hint on my score prediction. I think they'll cover the 16.5 because with the backup quarterback situation at Michigan State, I think they're going to struggle to score points. All right. If they make it past 14, I'll be surprised. And then as far as Iowa's concerned, if Michigan State doesn't get past 14 points, then that means is Iowa scoring in the 30s. Maybe not. Maybe they're in the 20s. But against that Michigan State defense, man, I think Iowa will run the ball well. And I think we'll see the passing game come alive. It's supposed to be pretty good weather tomorrow, as far as I'm aware. So I've got Iowa covering the number. I think they cover the 16.5. Final score, Iowa 31, Michigan State 10. Iowa 31, Michigan State 10. They cover, not by a lot, but they do cover. They will not hit the over. They'll hit the under just slightly. But Vegas very close on this prediction, I think. 2:30 p.m. Central Time kick, FS1. Join us for live postgame coverage. Myself, Coach John Patterson, Matt Kroll. I think Kyle Spence is going to stop by as well. It'll be a fun time. And then in the evening, it'll be the Iowa women's basketball team taking on the Miami Hurricanes. Another full day of sports. Enjoy your Saturday, folks. If you see me at Kinnick, say hi. Perhaps you see me outside at your tailgate. Wave me down, say hi. Would love to chat with you. We'll talk to you Saturday night after the game at Kinnick.